In this video, we're going to cover the wrong core exercises for sciatica and some substitutions. The area we're talking about with sciatica is going to be right around this area that travels down the back of the leg and down the back of the calf, sometimes the foot. Although there are some other variants of sciatica, this is the type we're talking about in this video. So if this is you, you're going to want to bookmark this video and watch the entire thing. Here we go. Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian at Performance Play Sports Care, part of the locally world famous chiropractors in Costa Mesa, California. Now it's important to note before we start these exercises and I show you the wrong ones and show you the better ones to use at this point in time, it's important to understand context. A lot of times people will misinterpret how to use exercises because the context is not correct. The context I'm talking about here is people who have sustained a disc injury and have leg pain associated to that. If you have things like your drop foot, your weakness into the foot, or severe motor loss, numbness, tingling in the area where you wipe and you go to the bathroom, or you have bowel and bladder change, those are things you need to go to urgent care or the ER for. This is more for intermittent, those types of cases. We can help you if these don't work for you, but remember, if you're a stenotic case or you have other versions or things that create your leg pain, these may actually be the wrong exercises that I'm showing. The wrong ones may actually be the right ones, okay? Not intended to be confusing, but that is how it is. Practice is an artwork, not just giving exercises. So as we go through this here, we're talking about those people who a lot of times it's the first pain in the morning and they start to sit up and they start to feel the leg pain go down their leg, or they step out of bed and they start to feel it. Sometimes coughing and sneezing will do it. Generally speaking, it's people under the age of 40, but I've seen people older with it as well. And it's usually the first few times they've been having this problem. It's not like the 10th or 20th time. Those people may be a different variant as well. So with that in mind, these people we generally classify as, we call them a flexion intolerant back, all right? Where they can't really bend forward too much at this point in time. There may not be some actual disc damage, but it's sensitive enough to where they can't actually round the back like so, okay? So exercises that actually encourage more spinal movement actually may increase their symptoms while they feel better, they feel bad, they feel better, they feel bad, or worse, better, best, things like that. So generally speaking, people who have sensitive spines, sometimes twisting and turning them and using the exercise as a bend point in the spine may not be the best idea right now. While if you have a healthy spine and your spine starts to feel better, you can probably implement exercises like this and you'll probably be okay. So let's go into some variations right now. The first one that we like to modify for people who have this type of scenario is the sit-up, okay? It may be a crunch, it may be a full sit-up. Either way, it involves bringing your head between your legs, okay? So this one, actually, what works better than bending the spine around and just irritating it and creating leg pain is just doing something like a plank. Now, some people, the way they do planks, they don't actually feel the same type of core engagement that they feel with a sit-up, which I totally understand. You may want to challenge how you do the exercise by pushing something like the rug or the floor away to get the same or enhanced effect on the abdominal wall. If this is the right exercise for your case, you won't feel your back, you won't feel your sciatica, you won't feel your foot or your hamstring or so on. You'll feel a large area of abs. So the way we like to coach this is we like to put a diamond shaped here and just kind of splay the elbows out so that diamond is not disrupted. At this point, I want to see if you can create a little bit of room underneath your belly by pushing your hands into the floor like you're trying to push your body across the room, okay? So you're pushing to get up into the plank position here, and I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm kind of shaking already. This is not easy. And I know people who have done planks from their knees and they're like, oh, those things are easy. I'm the foot guy, right? You may be, but if you do it with tension through the floor, you may actually think otherwise, because this is pretty hard. A lot of people who we have here and we help with things like sciatica from disc injuries or other types of sciatica too. By the way, sciatica is a symptom. It's not a diagnosis. It's leg pain. It just means leg pain. So leg pain can come from various different things. So when we see them, this may be one of the exercises we use. And so I'm moving pretty slow here, right? And I'm kind of going up, pausing, breathing, in my case talking a little bit, and then lowering down really slow, but it's almost like your belly is on a thin pane of ice. Don't break the ice by falling and laying on it too long. You want to keep a little bit of tenderness to it. So by doing this and keeping the attentiveness in the spine here, I'm actually not creating a bunch of bend with it, but I'm also not encouraging you to round the back either. So we're just pushing away, and this helps to really generate tension and effort through this area. Yeah, you might get the shoulders, you might get other parts. The way you're gonna know if these exercises are better for you is if you have what we call an appropriate target tissue challenged. And so something like a sit-up, you may feel more of your hamstring. You feel some of your belly, but you feel a lot more hamstring, and the thing that limits it sometimes is the hamstring or the back. Now, on the floor here, if you feel a big old area of belly, and that's what stops you from doing more, not pain or not other stuff down the leg, then that's the appropriate target tissue. You want to make sure the target tissue is what limits your ability to do more. The next one we're going to do is a Russian twist. And a lot of times people pick this because they're trying to get the sides of their body. Okay, you may use a ball or you may just do the hands. But as you can see, my pelvis is staying relatively fixed. And what's moving is actually, if you reference my belly button is kind of twisting around. And so I'm really rotating about the lumbar spine of the low back. And for people who have sensitive spines, just being set up in this position and initiating it sometimes creates more leg pain. And so it's very hard to want to be able to do your core exercises if they hurt all the time, where you feel bad afterwards. So one way to change this is to do some version of oblique exercise without really making the spine move, kind of how we did in the plank. And one way you can do that is a side plank roll. And so this is kind of hard to do. You can do it from the knees as well. So I'll first show you here. You're trying to imagine like your body here is a log. Okay, don't break the log as you start to roll. And then you roll back. Okay, you can actually feel the effort change locations. And so I know that when you're in like this position here, this is basically a plank. So you're gonna feel more target tissue is gonna be here. But as you go to the side, you're gonna notice it transfers it just to here. Basically, whatever surface of your belly is closest to the ground is taking the workload, and that's the appropriate target tissue. You can do it from the feet as well. It's a little bit harder to do, but you go like so. Okay, and you can also do it from the hands as well. But I prefer to actually have people do it from their elbows because their elbow provides a broader surface. There's no issues with the wrist involved. And as long as you get something soft for your elbow, usually that's just enough to get into the target tissues. Now, if you can't do that because it's on the floor and you're someone who's on the wall, you can actually put your elbow up on the wall, so turn your whole body 90 degrees and you rotate about the wall. Same principles apply. Now, I know I say keeping the spine stiff, keeping the body stiff, but really this is a temporary change, okay? This may last a couple weeks. If you're doing your rehab right, things a lot of times will start to resolve after a couple weeks, but it's important to note that it's actually healthy for your spine to move and flex and so on. Maybe not with a bunch of weight on it and not repetitively like a bunch, right? But you know, being able to dance and move and get off the ground sloppy and have the good and bad posture, that's all important. Okay, and that's actually how the spine gets its nutrients moving forward. But right now, we're just changing things just ever so slightly to let the spine mend itself before we start to implement things that are actually creating more symptoms down into the leg, because in this case, it's more of a spine complaint that's creating the sciatica. The next thing that I don't like that people do is called a V-up. I'm gonna use this for the modification here in a couple minutes, but the V-up is here, and it's reaching for the toes. And actually, there's a test that we actually have when we examine people with leg pain who their symptoms increase as they try to touch your toes. And so it's called Slump's test. It's actually tensions the nerve all the way down through the spine into the head. So when you start to go like here, this is actually a fully tensioned position for the sciatic nerve and the spinal cord all the way as it goes to the head and the brain. So it's one continuous unit there, especially if you cock the feet back. Now, so I would prefer this one, and I didn't do the full rep because I'm gonna smash the microphone here. But something to really challenge the front side here too, which works out well, is called a dead bug. And now I know a lot of people do know the dead bug. They go here and they're like, well, which arm and leg should I use? And yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like, just do variations of it, okay? And there's ways to make it more challenging too. But first, let me show you the general setup. First thing I like to do, since people tend to end up going to the position quickly, they just kind of throw them all up and they say, it's starting to go down my leg here a little bit. Yeah, slow it down a little bit. So create a little bit of stiffness here. Okay, got it. All right, almost act like if you moved, your spine would really hurt and shoot down your leg, because it could. And you get them both up there and okay, I feel pretty good. And that doesn't feel good. Okay, I'm gonna bend my knees a little bit more. And then you start to bring the arms up and okay, now I'm in the dead bug position, all right? Now the dead bug is not moving. The dying bug is when the bug is just kind of moving. Okay, it's a dying bug. They're still moving. Now, if you're moving here a little bit and you're moving all your appendages, but you start to feel symptoms, just notice what's happening with your back. If your back starts to kind of moving around the ground, kind of squirming around, it's really not stable either. So maybe we regress this exercise just a tad. Okay, create some stability, find your way up here, all the way up, and let's just move maybe a leg and try to tap your heel on the ground without moving anything in this area here. Now you may notice that you can only get to here and you're like, I'm starting to lift my back off the ground. That's okay, don't go the whole way. You can regress this. This is about trying to create some stability in the spine and the core while we're moving the hip independently from the core. A lot of times people who have things like disc injuries or leg pain, it revolves around them using their back and hip in combination when they're accomplishing tasks like running and squatting and so on. And they kind of move together. You should be able to create stiffness here and move the ball and socket independently. Now, some of you will want to go long. That's a really long lever. I don't even do that one. So I would say a little bit shorter here. You can move the arms too. If you have some neck pain and stuff like that, this may be a better variation for you. Try to reach far without losing this here. Now you can make it hard too, for those of you who like stuff hard. You can go into the position, just as we said, real slow, and then you're gonna try to push, try to crush the roller. And I'm starting to shake here in the front here, okay? I'm also starting to feel my hip flexor in the front here, so this may be too much for me right now. So I want to back that pressure down a little bit, because remember, it's all about target tissue, okay? You should feel more here than anything else. You shouldn't feel here and then that and so on. So if you are feeling those areas, you want to back it down just a little bit and do the hardest version that you can do well, that Craig Liebenson says. I think it's a great saying. Now the last thing we can change is Supermans, all right? Supermans or face down flutter kicks, those are things that people oftentimes do when they're like, you know what, I heard this is a back condition that's creating my leg pain, so I think I better like just improve how strong my back is. And actually this creates a little bit of compression, and as we mentioned in the beginning, ideally you may not want to do exercises that create your spine as a bend point, okay? And this is kind of doing that, just as Russian twist and crunches do as well. So we can modify this a little bit and still get the low back to strengthen itself, but more in a way that it's designed to, which is isometrically, which is non-moving. Just as we said before, we're going to create some stability here as we go through a hip movement and then an arm movement, which are the ball and socket joints of the body. They should be able to move independently of spine movement, meaning when you lift your leg, this shouldn't happen with it. You should be able to separate them. Okay, this is called a bird dog. This is the variation that I like. This is a really low risk, high reward exercise for people. You can hold it for longer, for like 10 seconds, and then slowly down again. Remember, act like you have a cup of water on your back. Don't lose the cup of water. Don't start dumping it and stuff. So you just want to stay relaxed and stable. And now we've met people who this has actually increased their leg pain, and we have to do a slight variation with it too. So one way to do it is they're like, I'm starting to feel my leg now, my right leg. And so we just say, bend the knee. And they say, oh yeah, that's better. And they get a little bit more butt cheek on it, which is the ideal area for the target tissue we're talking about. Okay, so there's a lot of different exercises that we can minimize in someone's weight training program or their exercise program or their core program, but this video specifically talking about the easy wins here. If you treat your spine as a bend point repetitively and add weight to it, like a weighted sit-up, there's a chance this may create more problems for you than it's worth. Now, as you saw in this video, we did variations of exercises to see if we can find ways to challenge the right target tissues for the core so you're still getting strong, good endurance in the core while mending your back. If you start bending your spine, there's a chance that you'll have more problems than you need to at this point in time. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to move your spine at some point, but an exercise under load, putting a 30-pound bag on your chest and doing weighted sit-ups may not be the right thing for you right now. Every exercise, every activity, everything that you do in life has a risk and a reward, a pro and a con, okay? Some of the exercises that you pick and you have in your core routine or your weight training program may be a higher risk than the reward that you're looking for. And especially when people have active conditions, things like sciatica or disc injuries that are currently active, a lot of times it's not worth the risk because they feel so bad for days after doing the exercise. And so there's no better way to lose your gains than just to not do the other activities and challenge the target tissues that you want. So the better thing to do is to still get the reward, but find another exercise which does the same thing for you, like I just showed you today. If you guys want help with this type of condition, and you want help resolving your sciatica, your back pain, or your disc injury, we specialize in helping people with them. As you can see, we have videos online. We have lots of videos on our YouTube channel, and we have a free webinar on the corner that covers different types of sciatica, different types of low back pain, and things that you may have not considered yet, okay? I think I've met a lot of people with this problem, and we've met a lot of people here at Performance Place. And the sad reality is that a lot of people suffer with it a lot longer than they need to because they don't know a good starting point, and they need a little bit more education to know the better starting point. And that's the intention of the webinar. So it's free, take advantage of it. If you guys want to work with us, we have virtual or in-person services. We have links in the description for the video that can help you find us. Subscribe for more of our videos on YouTube, and we'll see you next time.